I just love fall in Colorado. So nice. Hey everyone, welcome to the Active Towns channel. My name is John Simmerman, and I'm once again joined by
Wes Marshall.
Mr. Wes Marshall. Wes, we're in Boulder. We're gonna do a little bit of a ride. Go check out some cool stuff.
Looking forward to it.
All right. I love this street here too because it's kind of narrow enough that it's a natural yield street.
Yeah, it's a two-way yield street.
It's a nice two-way yield street.
And when you got the on-street cars.
We're gonna see some of that here today, and I think it's just a brilliant, low-cost way for cities to be able to accomplish a more comfortable environment, lower volume and lower speed. Just make your street narrow enough, and if you allow on-street parking, voila.
Yeah, my hometown was filled with streets like that, but they don't build them that way anymore.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna hang left here on Bluff, and we're gonna go check out the old Folsom Street protected bikeway. What do you think the width of the street is here?
28?
I'm terrible with... I realize it's kind of one of those awkward distances where it's not wide enough where you could really have, you know, protected bike lanes.
Like this one's not the two-way yield street, that's why you can see the speed hump ahead.
It's narrow enough that it kind of still feels like that.
It's narrow-ish, but not quite the same as the last one.
Yeah, exactly. So you can see that section that we just rolled through. We saw the improved protection, enhanced protection. This part here is pretty much what existed in that interim phase.
You can feel what a big difference that concrete makes in between. Like just having the flex post is just very different.
Yeah. And we'll go across this intersection. We'll actually stage up. Let's go over to where that lime scooter is.
Okay. I love these raised crosswalks too.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead and say that again, Wes.
I'm just saying I love these raised crosswalks, and these really should be the standard design. Anytime you have a slip lane, I would also argue we probably don't need as many slip lanes as we use, but if we're gonna do one, especially in a place where there might be pedestrians or bicyclists, this is such a better design. It slows cars down so much. Like this one's also angled in a way that they have to slow down and taking the right turn as opposed to being a free ride, so this is much better than usual for sure.
Yeah. The other thing, if you really take a look at this intersection, it's also a traffic diverter.
Yes, it is.
Because, yeah, it is a slip lane. That's a demerit right there. But it's a slip lane that is preventing through motor vehicle traffic. This is really a wonderful, you know, raised pedestrian crossing to an island to a modal filter, and so people walking and biking can continue through, but people driving cannot.
I don't love the fact the guy's on his phone as he's doing this, but at the same time, they're going really slow. So.
And this has been in place now for several years. If we swing the camera around to this side here, this is the section of Folsom that went through the rough the rough period where...
Well, it's interesting because, I mean, we started on Folsom, you got the concrete and you got the flex post. Then we had the section with just the flex post. And here, that doesn't even look like a full width bike lane anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, you
yeah.
have
And
half the bike lane.
It went back to the original, just painted bike lane that existed prior to their attempt to install it. So
we're going back in time with like what we should be doing down to what we shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
On the same, we only went 3 blocks, so it's
exactly.
interesting to see how quickly it degrades.
Yeah. Okay. Let's head the other direction on it so you can get the full experience.
All right.
Cross street with caution. Vehicles may not stop.
That's kind of funny to hear, though.
And over my shoulder there, your shoulder as well, that whole block right there is going to be demolished, and a whole bunch of multifamily residential going to be built there. And you'll notice that right here we've got some multifamily condominiums here. And so we are seeing some nice thickening of the housing stock in the area as well. Because as you can imagine, there's a housing shortage in Boulder.
They're not alone in that, but I mean, you can just feel how different it is. I know this concrete's not even the best protection you could have. Oh, there's a bike counter there too.
Yep.
Years ago, we tested one of the original eco counter installations in Boulder. We did a paper on it, and it was interesting because it double counted so many bikes.
Right.
It under counted so many bikes.
Yeah.
But when you averaged it out, it was like 99% correct.
How about that? That's pretty funny. We just saw that runner who's obviously using the bike lane as the preferred running surface. There's a few reasons for that. One, runners always have this perception that the asphalt is just a little more forgiving than the concrete. With modern running shoes, I don't know. I think that's more of a perception than anything else. But the other reason why they do it is a smooth bike lane is a much more consistent running surface than the sidewalks, where there's oftentimes major cracks and driveways.
In Denver, I see wheelchair users all the time using the protected bike infrastructure.
As they should, because it's much smoother. Yeah.
So it's not even just the surface of the sidewalk, but it's the fact a lot of them are like an obstacle course.
Yeah.
You have to go around the fire hydrants and the light posts and like the newspaper stand, whatever we put in there.
Yeah.
It's not amenable to a stroller or a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Or a guy running.
Yep. So now you can see we had a little crazy mixing zone there with the right turn lane, and then voila, we are no longer in our protected bike lane. We're now just in a buffered. This was never part of the original pilot, but this is up for redo. So.
Yeah. This feels like the parking could be here, the bike lane could be here. There's a lot they could do.
And that might be what happens in the future, because that's what they're working on right now.
Yeah, because right now we're just in the door zone.
Yeah.
And you're shoved between the moving cars and the parked cars. And yes, there's a buffer, but 2 feet of paint doesn't help the cause very much.
Right.
And there's a school zone here.
And there's a school zone here. Let's turn right here for just a second. So you'll notice the sign, Vision Zero. This is one of the kind of traffic calmed streets, and one of the installations of some of the horizontal deflection, traffic calming, flex post, lighter, quicker, cheaper, try to narrow that gap that they did a few years ago. And you can kind of see the impact.
Yeah, this is, I mean, it's a much wider road than the one we started on.
Right.
I mean, this one's probably 38, 40 feet. And it leads you right to a school, so slowing cars down through here.
Yeah. Let's pull over to the curb here, chat a little bit about what we just saw.
On here's the trail too.
So yeah, so this is the beginning of the Elmer's 2-mile multi-use path right here. And so
where's the school? Is that it over there?
that's a good question. I'm not real sure.
I think that brick building looks school-ish.
Boom. Yeah, it's hard to say. But this is a commercial area here. Yeah, they were running into problems with people drag stripping out of this commercial area back behind us right over here, and then heading out on this street, heading towards Folsom Street. And so they wanted to narrow this up a little bit to slow people down. But I can tell you that there was just so much confusion with a lot of the drivers who are just saying, well, what is that? That's the weirdest looking bike lane. I'm like, no, that's not it. It has nothing to do with bike lanes. They're just trying to narrow down and slow the cars down in this, for lack of a better term, a multi-use shared street.
Yeah, it's not the perfect solution, but it definitely does restrict, you know,
It's just another example of how cities are, deploying lighter, quicker, cheaper materials to try to slow things down.
And I'm guessing if we pulled out some speed guns, we would get slower speeds today than we would have prior to these being installed.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, fundamentally what we're looking for.
Yeah, okay. That's all I had to say about this.
Yeah.
Let's go back onto Folsom.
All right.
We're making our way to Iris, which is one of those core arterial network, the CAN. Program streets that is going to go through a major redo.
All right.
Let's head to it.
So what's the cross street up ahead?
So that is the state highway. So that is 28th Street. That's Highway 36.
That's what I figured.
Yeah.
I do think they could have done the more chicane style one as opposed just to the, I mean, sort of force cars left and right a little bit more. Mm-hmm. We saw those in Denver when we were doing that tour before, and it's similar, but seems to work a little bit better.
And you're also noticing we've got lots of multifamily here. We've got a lot of apartments. I kind of get the sense that if this was a higher rent district, we would have seen, a more beautiful approach to it.
Maybe.
I'm just saying.
Hard to say, but. Or maybe you wouldn't even see them at all, like they would have complained more.
Maybe. All right, off to Iris. Replacing water mains. So obviously this street, you can tell, is being, a lot of utility work is getting geared up.
Well, just being here, I mean, you would not want to put your kids on a street like this on a bike, right? Yes, there's a bike lane, but it's still not, going to hit those users that need a little bit more comfort.
Precisely.
Yeah, this is fine for you and I.
Yeah.
But I know full well that it's not going to be comfortable for a lot of folks.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to do a Dutch style box turn here.
All right.
We'll stage up here in the green. All right, we're rolling. So Wes, we're rolling at 3:25 in the afternoon on a Friday. You can see that Iris here is 35 miles per hour. You are, 4 lanes with center turn lane, pocket lanes on some of the intersections, not all of them. But this is what they're gonna redo.
Oh, it needs it. Because we just passed the bus stop too.
Yeah.
And I don't know what you're supposed to do as a bicyclist if there's a bus parked right here in the bike lane.
Yeah, let alone debris.
Even now, I feel like you should get in front of me instead of beside me.
Yeah. Which, when you think of it, is completely unacceptable for a city to assume, because you should always assume that a parent needs to ride side by side with their child. And so that's a huge part of creating an all ages and abilities network, is the facility should be wide enough for two people to ride side by side at all times. So
it makes a big difference. And I mean, now I know every car is built like that, right? We want to make sure you have two seats side by side, you can talk to your passenger. We could do the same for bicycling. Even in Denver, we have a lot of cases where you can't even walk side by side. The sidewalk is 2.5, 3 feet wide. So having to walk single file, it's like we're treating these modes as second-class citizens.
yeah. And what I love about riding on a street like this, you know, during
I'm curious
an
to hear what you're
afternoon,
gonna say here.
I mean, it just, look at it though.
Yeah.
It's platoons, and then nothing, no cars. And I'm like, oh, look, nobody's driving on this road. We need to downsize it. We need to reduce. By the way, check out this mural over here.
Oh, that's great. This could be me.
So that mural is from the It Could Be Me nonprofit with Trini Willerton. I proudly serve as a board member for her. And
That's a good phrase.
here's our third. We're gonna turn right here. Right in here. So again, this is a hugely important intersection right here. So this is Iris and 19th Street. And once Iris gets redone and becomes a more people-friendly street, this particular street is going to be even more important because it's a major route that people on bikes take and have been taking for generations. And so they'll hopefully be able to redo 19th Street so that it's not just a painted bike lane as well.
One thing I noticed on the street is if you look straight ahead, there was a beautiful mountain, and it's a terminated vista.
Yeah.
And I barely noticed it because we're so busy looking for cars and for debris.
Yeah.
Like, you're not comfortable enough to even look at the horizon to see how amazing it is straight ahead.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, you literally have the backdrop of the Front Range, the mountains right there, just welcoming you, trying to pull you forward.
At the very end, I was like, oh, look, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't notice it for the last 5 blocks we rode.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. We were just talking about, oh, hi, Megan.
Hi.
How are you? We'll also get you mic'd up to when we get to the place where we'll do the stuff there. Yeah.
Stay close to this one.
Yeah. So we actually will stay on the multi-use path here. You'll notice that they decided in their infinite wisdom to not have a bike lane starting with this intersection. And for those who are not confident taking the lane, all three of us are, but we're not going to do that. We're going to take the all ages and abilities route and stay on the elevated shared use path.
I did not realize this was a path yesterday.
Yeah.
Huh.
And when you approach from that side, from the bike lane that's over there that disappears into the right turning lane, you will notice a little sign here that says that this is the.
I didn't even notice it yesterday.
Yeah.
I had my full-on
Yeah.
bag on the back that I was.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Let's go. Woo! Okay. Good job, you two. That hill that I've been climbing since 1996 never gets flatter. But this is a main route for people riding bikes, for people walking, and as you will soon see, a major route to a middle school. Okay, we've made our way up to the top of 19th and Norwood Avenue. They have actually just redone this particular pedestrian realm here with an improved ADA ramp and a narrowed section here for the crossing. They've yet to even stripe it yet with the crosswalk. It's that new. They were still construction zone here majorly in August when I was here. We have a new addition to our crew, Megan Ramey. Thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here.
Thanks for coming along for this little infrastructure ride with Professor Wes Marshall. We're gonna pop on over to Centennial Middle School right now to see if there's any kids left. I don't even know what time school gets out. They may be gone already, but we're gonna find out. So let's roll down Norwood here. There's two sections to Norwood that I really wanna emphasize. This section here, the east side of Norwood, where you'll see two things. You'll see the wide shared use path, sort of sidewalk on steroids, where you end up seeing, the kids, the moms, some of the elderly who live in the neighborhood walking here. You'll also see a narrow travel lane over here where many of the kids and the more confident riders of bicycles will just take the lane over there. And you'll see why when we go to the west side of Norwood Avenue, why that makes sense. All right, let's roll and keep our fingers crossed that we see some kids and bikes at the school. Usually there's literally hundreds of bikes here. Who wants to take the shared use path to?
I will.
Okay, you take the shared use path and I'll do that, and I'll do the street, and Wes, you do whatever you want.
I'll start on the street so I can see the raised crossings first.
Okay. Yeah, and that's actually that's just more of a speed hump for slowing down. There's no crossing necessarily.
It says raised crossing, but there's no crossing.
Yeah.
Right.
And you'll notice the little wiggle that they put in through here to just kind of, with the landscaping, to slow traffic down.
And this wasn't here before? This
is all part of whenever they redid this street. I don't know when. It's been this way for years. So this is nothing new.
That's a wheel popper.
Yeah?
Jeez, man. I wonder if they purposely colored the sidewalk.
I believe they did, but it's also not consistent.
Yeah, it's like almost like the Dutch red, but.
Yep. Which is also, by the way, the color that Fort Collins uses for their bike paths.
Yep, okay.
Their paved bike paths. And here is the school.
Oh, great.
And Megan, if you stay up there, you'll see how that interacts with the bike parking.
Okay, got it.
And Wes, you see that we do have some parent pickup happening.
What did you say, John?
I said you can see we've got some parent pickup happening here.
Yes, we do. I showed a video, much more egregious
Yeah, they
than
sure
this,
are.
Still a lot of bikes over there.
Yeah. And that's the whole point. Yep, we've made it in time. So yeah, welcome to Centennial Middle School. And if we scan over, you can see that they're just coming out. And we'll continue on because I want to show you the interaction with the continuation of what was Folsom Street west that we saw earlier, kind of connects to Norwood here. And you can see how that traffic flow comes in and how the kids get to school this direction. Then we'll turn around and go the other way on Norwood so you can see what the other side of Norwood looks like. And based on the fact that some of the parents are queuing here, I suspect that we'll, by the time we do both sides and see one lighter, quicker, cheaper installation, we should see them coming out and not and not appear to be like weird people filming the kids. So, all right, here we go.
As opposed to just nerds that look at bike
I know.
infrastructure and.
And I was like, Robert.
So the reason I wanted to bring us down to this particular intersection is, especially in bike to school mornings, you'll just see a constant flow. If you look across this intersection here, you see that this is the Wonderland Creek Greenway, and so it's another off-street network of separated pathways that connect a whole bunch of neighborhoods and communities on the other side of those trees over there. So you'll just see a constant flow of kids riding in the morning, and of course we're going to miss it, but in a moment here we'll see a whole bunch of kids barreling down this hill here towards us. In fact, here comes the first kid right now, and we're going to be turning around and going flowing upstream, so we'll be salmons flowing upstream. Yeah, we'll try the pathway, but if it gets too heavy with kids, then we'll pop onto the street. Okay, well, let's keep rolling. I got some more stuff to show you before we get out of school zone here.
A lot of e-bikes.
Yep, just the beginning. On your left here. Thank you.
Middle school kids on e-bikes, these are your people.
So that's exactly like a normal situation up there.
Yep.
All right, you too. Well, we couldn't have timed that better.
I know, it was so great to see just all the different, even though it's just like walking and biking within walking and biking, how many different options there are.
Yeah.
Different types of bikes. The double riding is still an amazing thing here too.
Yeah. All right, Professor, you're also a parent. Thoughts?
Well, it's better than the double riding on the scooters, right?
Right.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a spectrum of riders. Like, it's not just biking. Can't be a solid block of users. It's so different.
Yeah.
Not just age, but in terms of what kind of bikes they have. And
I suggest we get up and use crosswalk. Okay, before we continue up Norwood here, the story of Norwood heading up to the west here is a fun story. It's all about traffic calming. But before we do that, I want to mention to you that this behind us, this intersection, is also a bus stop. And so first thing in the morning, the local transit service for the Denver metro area, including Boulder and Longmont, RTD, drops kids off here in the numbers of the tens of kids. So if you can't time it just right, you'll see the bus stop here, and 10, 20, 30 kids will pile out and then walk the rest of the way down to Centennial Middle School. And so that's another dynamic that needs to be taken into the equation of how this middle school rocks the active transportation world.
I do kind of wish there was a four-way stop there.
Yes, or a mini circle or something.
And I'm not sure, and again, what we're looking at right now is not the future for 19th Street, because 19th Street is one of those streets that is currently going through a scoping process and an open house process to try to make it more activity friendly and more walkable and bikeable. And I would not be surprised if this turns into some form of more traffic calmed, more bike and pedestrian friendly type of infrastructure. Obviously we can tell because they've done the concrete work here already and they've narrowed up the crossing distances that part is going to be the future. But to your point, Wes, it might actually be a four-way stop at some point in
It's heading in
time.
the right direction, but I mean, even the way that peaks at the top of the hill there, like
Exactly.
if cars are going fast over and kids are crossing at the same time, it'd be hard.
Exactly, yeah.
It's a tough situation, but
Yeah. It would also be a lot more comfortable if we just didn't have this many parents doing
Driving.
the kid pickup.
Yeah.
I mean, they are actually causing the majority of the conflict that makes this a challenging thing. So once again, parents, don't mean to call you out. I know you may have reasons. In Colorado, they do have school choice. So these kids may live beyond walking and biking distance because they have school choice, and they may be, carting them in 10 or more miles, who knows?
This is ripe for a school street during pickup and drop off.
Yeah, tell us more. What do you mean by school street?
The school.
Define it for the audience.
A school street temporarily or permanently restricts through vehicles from driving on it, usually to make it safer for kids to walk or bike to school, to give them more space. So for like in this example, you have a multi-use path that most kids are walking on when they leave. Mm-hmm. Therefore, the kids who bike take the street, and it's better for them to have the full street width to be able to navigate safely versus having cars constantly passing them.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that's a concept that is really taking off around the world globally. We've seen a huge number installed in Paris, and I was able to be on site and document that. Professor Marshall, have you seen much, or have you and your team started to study the school streets yet?
there have not been enough around here to really do that. Even in a situation like this, you kind of want to zoom out and see what the network is like, to see just sort of how it works together. It's hard to tell when you're just on one facility like this what could be, but yeah, it's a great idea. I think a lot of people head in the wrong direction. When they're trying to make things easier for kids to walk and bike, they end up making it easier to drive, which isn't what we want.
Yeah. Okay, well, now that we're on the topic of making things easier to drive, let's go take a look at Norwood, West Norwood Avenue here, and some permanent infrastructure that was put in maybe 2 decades ago to try to really traffic calm an area that previously didn't have a whole lot of infrastructure, but as you can tell is a feeder to this historic Centennial Middle School that's been around for a long time. Let's go check it out.
Yeah. Yes, it's a beautiful street up ahead. And after the turn, they have a raised crossing here.
So Wes, this really is a raised crossing.
Yeah.
So you can see
I
the
see.
sidewalk meanders to either side.
So they only have one sidewalk.
Yep.
Well, I
it
like
cuts
how
back.
it is the line. I like how it's the desire line.
Yeah.
I always wonder if cities were designed around like Boston, like with essentially the cattle lines.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, like if all cities were designed like that, the walking might have been the more efficient choice.
That picture I showed of Acorn Street in the presentation the other day, that's like 6-8 feet across. The rule at the time was like 2 cows had to be able to pass each other. Like that was the width, and had they determined the minimum.
And we see a raised intersection here with 17th Street. So the entire intersection is raised. You can also tell that this is not a curb and gutter, stormwater type of situation here. So they were able to be really creative with how they did the plantings, the chicanes, the rain gardens, the natural stormwater runoff, and really using it to their advantage to keep traffic speeds low.
What do you think the lane width is of these vehicle lanes?
It changes. It feels a little
Is it
wider
like
right
10
there.
here?
This is like 10 or 11.
Oh, okay. And then it narrows down sometimes. Okay.
It feels like it goes down to 9 or 10 at some points.
But what I love about it is, as you've noticed, until we get to this little section up here, there has been no long stretches of uninterrupted visual.
Right.
And we'll notice that when we look back down the hill. It's like, oh yeah, let's pull off to the side here on the right.
And no parking, like, until you get over here, which is so wonderful for sight lines.
Yeah, that's only like 9 or 10 feet.
Yeah, as a lane width. But if we stand here in the middle of the street and look back down the hill that we just came up, you'll notice the sight line. This is just a natural traffic calming feature that is so incredibly beautiful. I mean, this is a very desirable street to be on and live on. You know, for these residents that live here, cars are not speeding typically through here because of the design. And this is what we mean by, and in your presentation,
Yeah.
if you're going to actually put up a speed limit sign, you know, get the design right. This is a great example of a 20-mile-per-hour design.
Yeah.
And it's been this way for years, decades.
This is
And it's a steep hill.
It's a steep hill. You
Yeah.
could get moving, even on
Yeah.
a bike. We get
Yeah.
a hill like this in my hometown, Watertown. We would bike like 40 miles an hour down that hill.
Yeah.
Which one?
Fall
Yeah.
Free Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We would go so fast, but it was
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
straight shot. All you could see was just straight away ahead of you,
yeah,
and you could get moving. And the car is even worse. So
Yeah.
this, you don't feel it at all. You don't
Yeah.
see the sight lines like you were saying.
yeah,
In cars, I mean, I think my radar gun's in my other backpack, but they're
Yeah.
going pretty slow.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff.
it feels
Now,
like
the
it's
other neat
designed
thing
for, like,
about where
10.
we've stopped here is we also have a multi-use trail, a pathway here. So this is the intersection to be able to connect to so this whole network of other residences, communities right here. So we have this multi-use path, which we're going to take, Megan. We're going to ride down that way. And again, it's that concept of connectivity, Professor Marshall. I mean, when you think about it, it's like, how do we create, you know, that connectivity for active mobility to be able to get to a meaningful destination, including their school?
Yep. Very much so.
So
Okay.
where's the bulk of the infrastructure cost in this one? Like the
Colorful rocks,
planting? Yeah.
Feels like it.
initial plantings, trees. I mean, this is dirt cheap. When we think of the infrastructure that we, and the amount of money that we spend on automobile infrastructure in like a single complicated intersection, hundreds of millions of dollars, I guarantee this in comparison is dirt cheap.
Like, I mean, I appreciate the strong tones, philosophy, and like they're making some great points. And at the same time, whenever I talk to, especially active transportation folks, like, oh, we never have enough money to do sidewalks or bike lanes.
Yep.
But whenever we need a new lane on a highway, we can find $100 million. We can find
No problem.
$100 million. Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much money we can just
Yeah,
come up with.
which is precisely Chuck's point with strong towns, is that the money is there. It's just a matter of political and priorities. If you prioritize this,
Yeah.
I mean, who wouldn't want this?
Well, right now, if we gave all the money in the world to the traffic engineers,
Yeah.
I don't trust us to do this, right? We
Yeah.
need other priorities before we get to that point.
That bunny rabbit that was crossing the street right behind you when you said that, Wes, thanks you for using the I and the we, you know, because you're including yourself in that, which is a big part of your book, is that
Yeah.
you're part of this. You understand that you're part of the challenge.
Self-reflective to some extent. I
Yeah.
mean, and yeah, I mean, I guess I was part of the problem at one
Yeah.
point. And we all need to get better. And
Yeah. Well, that
When
bunny
you
rabbit appreciates that because what we have here is an environment that slows the traffic down, and even a bunny rabbit can make it across the street.
And the kids. I mean, that's the most important thing. And it's say for
Yeah.
us, the school person, you know that better than
Designing
anyone.
for like a kindergartner to be
Yeah.
able to walk to school by themselves.
All ages and abilities and
yeah.
bunnies.
Yeah, bunnies.
Bunnies.
All right, let's
So-
take this little multi-use path. I want to show you a quick build attempt to do something like this, but with quick build materials.
Cool. Boulder is Disneyland. Like, I swear to God.
But the point of like this kind of stuff here is that you can see this, you can relate to these types of neighborhoods pretty much anywhere across, the continental United States. And we're going to go another block up, and I'll show you this
I mean, that's just the typical
traffic calming.
cul-de-sac behind
That's just a
us,
typical cul-de-sac, but
not
again,
for
yeah.
pedestrians or bicyclists. It's
yeah, and that's the
throughway.
whole point
Yeah.
is, and the vast majority of people, if you ask them whether a cul-de-sac is positive, they'll say, heck yeah, it's positive. It's slower traffic and fewer vehicles. And from an active mobility perspective, it can also be beautiful if you have the ability to penetrate through there
Yeah.
and have active mobility. We're going to be turning right here on Orchard.
It's like a natural diverter
Yep.
yeah.
if there's a cut-through trail.
So this street here is going to feature, it's basically the same topography, but it's going to feature lighter, quicker, cheaper traffic calming. And you'll already notice that, guess what? The kids have taken over.
Coming across a bike gang.
This looks like my bike club. They built their own like stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was going to use it.
Or down. I wanted to go off the ramp with my folding bike.
So I either got one street off and we turned one street too soon because there was no traffic calming on that street unless they removed that pilot, unless they removed the lighter, quicker, cheaper materials that they had in place here. And they may have done that when they decided to come in and redo all the infrastructure here. Let's go one street over and go up and see if there's that I might have misremembered whether it was Orchard Street or not. Okay, now I thought of something else to talk about. So we've got a bus that actually heads up this street. This is Quince. We've gone far enough along here, we can see the construction that's happening on 19th Street here. And woe is me, I'm realizing that they have no intention of creating a protected, physically separated, sidewalk level, protected bike lane here. At best, we're going to be some sort of in roadbed bike facility. I hope it's more than just a protected or a painted bike lane. What do you think, Professor? Is there enough width
Seems like there is. I mean,
for a protected on both sides or a protected two-way cycle track on one side?
it seems like you'd probably definitely do the latter. I'm not sure about the
Yeah.
former, but
What a missed opportunity, eh? Because they obviously are redoing sewage lines, probably water lines, so this is pretty major infrastructure improvement, and yet, wow.
And where's the nearest north-south road? It doesn't feel like there's one that close to here either. So this seems like a relatively important connecting road.
Yeah,
The-
no, this is
important
a
for
critical,
everybody,
This
yeah.
is a critical north-south
So if you're not
north-south
biking
for
here,
people
where would
moving,
you go,
period.
right?
Yeah.
And so if there's no place else to go, then we need that infrastructure here.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that's my
it is
point.
that next major block that we saw when we went past the school. That's the next major block, which is 26th Street,
Yeah, that's 7 blocks away.
7 blocks away.
That's pretty
Yeah.
far.
All right. Well, this
yeah, it's
is
hard to
the
tell what's happening.
this is the street that we wanted to see some lighter, quicker, cheaper traffic calming. So let's head on up. So guys, take a look at what we have here.
Oh, nice. Yeah. This is, gosh, it's so easy.
So you'll notice as we climb, they used 3 or 4 different types of narrowing schemes. So that's one where it narrowed on both sides and they left a little space for people on bikes to go through. This one, it's not obvious that you ride your bike through it and it's just on one side. And it's actually an intersection with another multi-use path right here. If you look to the right, Megan,
Yep.
that's your multi-use path.
Well, that must connect to the other one, right? That we were on?
Potentially.
The 15th Street Pass?
A little bit further up.
Oh, no, it's 17th. Okay.
Yeah. And then, of course, we've got our 20 mile per hour.
I like how the flex posts are essentially like they allow bikes to just keep going through.
Yep. At least when they do it on both sides.
Yeah.
To the narrow, to essentially, which is a pinch point yield street width. All right, thoughts? So that's the lighter, quicker, cheaper materials approach to try to duplicate what was a tried and true, proven traffic calming installation of Norwood Avenue, which happened a couple decades ago. And then this street got this treatment a couple years ago to try to do it, to try to retrain the drivers in the neighborhood. Thoughts?
You can see that one lane road sign right there. So,
Yep.
I mean, they basically made it into the two-way yield street we started on today, right?
Exactly, yeah.
For short stretches, but still.
Yeah, yeah. And it's obviously not as beautiful as the one lane street that we were on, which, it came quite naturally just because the street was that of the appropriate lane width and overall width. But how comfortable did that feel for you?
Felt great. I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think it's like for a neighborhood street, it's a really cheap and easy way to making essentially a bike street to slow down the cars, but also you still have the space for the bikes to, you don't necessarily have to put a bike lane on the ground or even sharrows.
It feels slow enough that kids could be doing what we saw on the previous street, where they're playing in the street.
Right.
And they yell car, and they can
Yeah.
move their stuff and
Yep.
be safe doing that. I mean, that's the way I grew up, and you can't do that in most places these days.
Yeah, I always want to interview the neighbors on these streets. We found the school street pilot that I did, the neighbor sort of approval went from 50% cautious approval, oh yeah, try anything for the kids' safety, and then afterwards they were like, please don't remove it. And we love it because our street is so quiet.
That is so important data to collect, so for the next time you try to do one of these installations.
Well, the city
can
is
show it to them,
oh,
yeah.
there's nobody. The only naysayers on that whole project were actually not teachers, but school staff, that their quote was, now we have to drive carefully to get to our parking lot. The principal, when he heard that, was like, I see what's going on. Can we just do a school street now around the whole school? And I'm like,
here's some kids right there too.
let's do
Enough
one at a
said.
time.
Hang out in the middle of the street.
Okay, and that's the direction we're going.
Yeah.
So let's roll.
But yeah, the city is gonna put it in permanently now.
Because when Portland started doing their, neighborhood greenways or the bike boulevards originally, a lot of the parallel streets were worried about speeds and traffic and stuff like that. So they collected the data to show that it wasn't an issue. And next time they try to do something, they could show that data.
Yep.
Because people usually come up with the same arguments every time you do the same thing.
Yeah, so I was the lady that after you did your talk, I was the first person to ask the question, what's more important, the data or the stories?
Yes.
And
John reminded me of that before we met up with you.
and because I find the stories are so much more compelling for decision makers like principals and
Yeah.
I essentially copied and pasted the quote from the most vocal negative staff member so they could see it in full. And the principal, as he was reading it, was like, there's always one of these. It's just like, made me so happy.
I do the same thing with the engineers that are kind of anti my book.
Oh, yeah?
I take their quotes and...
Just make it public.
Yeah, because I mean, the people that say that haven't read the book, and the arguments they're making, I mean, they're basically proving my point for me.
Yep.
So I want to interrupt you just to point out that this kind of is answering one of your questions, is what's the alternate active mobility north-south route, and that's what we're on. So if we don't want to be on the major street in a bike lane, we can take this route because we know that we are able to penetrate through the cul-de-sac through this pathway right here.
Does it keep going after we get to that next street though?
No. We'll have to go down that 19th Street hill.
Yeah, there's a huge hill. I think that prevents.
But we do get to go back down Norwood again.
Oh, sorry.
That permeability through the cul-de-sac, it feels almost magical, doesn't it?
Okay. Now I want us to just be quiet. Now, if the kids were here right now, we would be hearing the kids' voices.
Right.
They're not here, so we're hearing the little croaking of a frog maybe, or I don't know. I don't know my insects well enough. Could be an insect, but I just wanted to point out that once we had that SUV that took off and headed up the hill and got that person out of earshot, again, cities aren't noisy. Cars
Yeah.
make cities noisy.
Yeah, that was a key part in the School Street video that I had my principal watch. They essentially said, and Sam was narrating it. Sam was like, now listen to this.
Yeah.
And all you could hear were like the kids playing in the background
Yeah.
on the street.
Yep. So I don't know if you've noticed any of the side streets, but most of the side streets don't have any sidewalks. So all
Yeah,
of these
that's
streets.
another thing I wanted
Yeah.
to point out on the quick build street was that in absence of sidewalks, making it essentially like a slow traffic neighborhood street, you don't really need sidewalks.
Yep. Ultra slow traffic, ultra slow or low volume, you can make that happen.
My friend used to have like this, I think she still does, where she will never buy a house on a street with lines on it,
That's a good one.
or sidewalks or parking,
Yeah.
Yeah.
something like that.
See if the bus, yep, yields,
Yeah.
fantastic.
People are stopping.
So notice, so you take a look at the street there to the right, you notice no sidewalks again. So again, even in this relatively robust kind of neighborhood where, you know, it seems like there's sidewalks everywhere, and then you'll notice, oh, there's a side street there. No sidewalks whatsoever. So again, a shared street. The reason why I bring that up is because we're back at Iris again. And again, Iris just went through its open house phase, just went through a whole revisioning. City Council signed off for them to re-envision the street, reimagine the street. We're going to reduce travel lanes in each direction and add protected bike facilities here. One of the complaints that was coming up were from these neighborhoods, these community members right behind us, saying now we're worried that we're going to get the spillover traffic, and some of our streets don't even have sidewalks. And so It's one of the things that I think cities have to be aware of is that, yeah, as you're going through and you're reimagining some of your core arterials, and if you're going to add protected bikeways to those, you also make sure that the surrounding neighborhoods have some traffic calming and some traffic diverters in place so that we can do that. We're gonna pop up on the sidewalk here because we don't yet have a protected bikeway. Now look up that way to your right, towards the hills. What do you notice on that, going up that way, Wes?
Another terminated vista.
Yeah, another terminated vista, but what about the number of lanes for motor vehicles coming down that hill?
There's only one, right?
Yeah, they've already reduced
it.
There's only one lane.
But there's two going up the hill?
Yeah, two going up. So already, at least in that segment, Iris is only one lane in that direction. And you'll see a lot of new concrete work here. You can see that they've narrowed this up, made it a lot safer. And what did we see? We saw somebody using it right as we were approaching to get across, because this is a major barrier that Iris has been over the years. And so that's part of the reason why this is so incredibly important.
It worked exactly as we would want it to work.
Worked exactly as we would want it to work. Now, what you can't tell and you can't see is that just beyond that intersection there is an elementary school within about 200 yards. And so you also see some of the elementary school kids making their way up across that major street up there. That's a Stroad. It's actually probably a state highway, Broadway. But literally there's kiddos that are going to an elementary school just right up there. And of course, we've got ball fields here. This is the North Boulder Little League area. And then we also passed another park along that 16th Street there. So you can sort of see how important this is gonna be for traffic calming, to reducing the speeds and reducing the number of vehicles using this as a fast speed connection. So come back in a couple years and this will all be redone.
One lane?
One lane in each direction and protected bike facilities.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, let's continue on. We got a lot yet to see.
Okay. Oh, I like this little connection.
You can see a little bit of the work that they're working on here.
Oh, got it.
Well, I gotta take a picture of
Get
that.
a little directional so that you can get across that intersection there. And just not to interrupt too much, but again, notice what we're on, another shared street.
No sidewalks.
Yep. And again, here we are.
Oh yeah, like the natural
four-way
diverter.
intersection for bicyclists and pedestrians.
So I wanted to show you guys this right here. Obviously, we just went through another one of what we were talking about earlier is, cul-de-sacs that have, the permeability of active mobility. That put us out onto what is a nice network here of, connecting to critical destinations, including this wonderful community garden. And we'll see here the Bartlett Community Path. Al was one of the guys that was instrumental in the 1970s to really envision the off-street network of pathways. And so somewhere in this park as well, there is a bench memorial that they just put up for him to really do a hat tip to somebody who was a luminary in the off-street network of pathways that Boulder is so well known for. We've been really looking very, very closely at the on-street network, which arguably the city is not as good at, and that they're trying to get better. But it's the off-street network that really, really shines, and in large part because of Al Bartlett. So,
Yeah,
all right.
Boulder's always sort of been a tale of two cities to me. Like,
Yeah.
you come in here, it's like a whole nother world.
Yeah.
Like, you would not know this exists if you're in a car, but if you're
Yeah.
on a lot of the streets, it feels like a driving city, right?
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Yeah, and that's been one of their biggest challenges. Is it's not really well known that cars are really essential to a lot of people here, and they may enjoy these as recreational facilities, that they may not use them on a everyday basis, but there's a subset of the population that really uses this to their advantage. So we're going to continue down this pathway.
This is why I always want to like just take people out of their cars and be like, there's a whole nother world that exists. Like if you can just see it, and then they're like, oh, it's actually, it is not, it's more safe than they think it is, because all they see
Push
is
this
and
brick
to-
right here in the wall.
And to Wes, to your point too, it's also sometimes a hidden network.
Yeah, it
And
is.
so
It
getting
totally
people
is.
out of their windshield view
Yep.
is a big part of it.
Well, that's why the signage is so important, because I don't really know where I am. I mean, yes, I
Yeah.
can use my phone, but this is useful.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. Sorry, I keep rushing us along here, but I know
No,
we've
it's fine.
got a lot to see because there's a lot of cool bling that's brand new that they just built. What you're going to see now is one of Boulder's first ever, lane reductions and protected bike facilities. Might have been one of the first protected bike lanes in all of the United States. And it's been in for, gosh, even when I lived here back in the 1990s, early 2000s, it was here. So I'll have to double check on the date, but it's pretty impressive. So, are you ready? Here we go.
Oh yeah. This is 90s?
I don't know exactly what date. I'll have to check on the date. It's been here a long, long time.
And my first trip to Boulder was like in 06 or 07, before I even lived in Denver. And I stayed at the Hotel Boulderado right there.
Oh, yep.
So this is what I saw. It was-
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah,
was-
I was about the same time. I think I was like 2005. We've been doing Friendsgiving every year for like 20 years, and Boulder was one of our destinations with our friends.
Oh, watch out, lady.
All right, so what do you think?
This is, I was just telling her, this is one of the first, because I came to Boulder in like 06 or 07 for a conference. I stayed at the Hotel Boulderado right
Yep,
there.
yep.
So this is one of the first time I saw in the United States infrastructure like this, and it's like an awakening. You're like, oh, like this is what it could be like.
Yeah.
I've been sort of pursuing that ever since.
Yep.
Yeah,
Megan, what are your thoughts
it's
on
like
that?
it's like the model pedestrian mall, I think, for America. Besides like Santa.
Well, the Pearl Street is definitely the modern
Yeah.
pedestrian mall, but really, when you look at the fact that they did a road diet on this from the number of motor vehicle lanes that previously existed on 13th Street and put in protected bikeway through here, it's pretty extraordinary. How did that feel rolling down it, Megan?
I mean, I like to qualify a good bike facility as in brainless.
Yeah.
And it felt brainless to
Yeah.
me. Like,
Now,
I
what's
could-
the criticism
I
of
could
it?
have a conversation with Wes, and
Yeah. What's the criticism? There's a
criticism-
huge criticism. We can see it right now.
What,
You
that
can see it
people
right
are
now.
still biking in the regular travel lane?
Because
Leave a
that's their
share
only
lane.
option.
Oh, there's no contra, there's no
There's
two-way.
concept,
Yeah, so
Yes.
so it's
Yeah.
yeah, so it is It is protected on the northbound lane, but on the southbound lane, or excuse me, it's protected on the southbound lane. On the northbound lane, you're sharing space with the cars. Now, granted, the cars are traffic calm to very, very, very slow speeds, but that's the trade-off that they had with this particular facility. And you can tell why is because of the parking. It's all about car parking to these parking lots here and to a little bit of angled parking there.
I'd prefer the back and angled parking, because even when we were riding, a couple cars
Yeah.
trying to pull out as we were.
Yeah, there was one Jeep that almost
Yeah.
Yeah.
went into me.
So it's not perfect,
No, it's not perfect.
but at least, you know, on the southbound direction.
This connects to the trails, right? And
Yeah,
you go-
that's where we're
Yeah.
going. This is critical north-south connectivity to the east-west, west-to-east trail network. So one of the things that I need to note about this is the main route for high school kids to ride to the high school, because we're going to ride right to the high school.
Oh yeah.
Okay, all right, let's do it. It's also the route not only to the high school, but just beyond the high school is the university. So it's also the main flow route for kids to get to the students to get to the university.
And the library is right here.
Library, I think it's over.
Yeah, right over
Yeah.
here. Or
I think it's over.
that way. Yeah, that way.
Oh, okay.
That way.
I spent some
It's right along the
afternoon-
creek path that way, towards the west.
Like when I came to that conference, I went to the library and I found all these great old documents about
Yeah.
the bike facilities being built here in like the 60s and 70s. And
Oh, nice.
They also have transferred a lot of the old historic stuff to the Boulder History Museum or library, you know, where you can go in and look at some of the old newspapers and everything.
yeah, that's cool.
I love this. Feels so intentional.
Yes, it does.
Jeez. They just
Pull off to the side for just a second.
yeah, they just improved that, I think.
Yeah.
It feels much smoother.
So one of the things that you'll notice about that little segment right there is because that was a pinch point and it's such a high traffic area for bikes and peds. Again, your high school is literally right here is the part of the ball field to the high school, and then the rest of the high school is right over there. And so you can't have this constant flow of bikes and peds under that underpass. And so what they ended up doing is making that wider and then actually delineating space for people on that are walking and people on bikes. So huge improvement
well.
to that area.
Yeah, it felt much, I mean, I can't remember what it was like before, but it felt much cleaner.
Yeah, yeah. It is much cleaner and much more comfortable and far fewer conflicts than before.
And then that little, sorry, but the
Yeah.
the roller coaster ride down the hill that felt so intentional.
Yep, yep.
It's beautiful and
Yep,
fun.
Yep, yeah, absolutely. And this is a roller coaster ride here that winds its way up around, up on the other side here, and then it climbs this hill. That's where the person is coming down. And then you are able to get on the bike path up on Broadway that takes you right to the CU University. This is where that goes. All right, but we're going this way.
Yeah. When did the mass flooding happen here?
September 2013.
Okay. I remember those videos and images so well.
Yeah, I just happened to be here that week. I was doing active town stuff, and the storm hit And so I have a whole lot of footage of all of that.
Really?
Yeah. And one of the key things about this pathway in particular in the 1970s, one of the arguments for building it was that if there was ever another big flood, having the wider spans underneath the streets would save the streets. And that's precisely what happened.
That's awesome.
The city of Boulder did not lose a single bridge, did not lose a single street where there was a bike and pedestrian facility underneath it, because the water just came right up and over and still was able to get through, didn't undermine the road network in the city of Boulder. Outside the city where that wasn't the case, the floodwaters just wiped out the bridges.
Well, maybe Western North Carolina will get some kick-ass bike infrastructure now.
Maybe. Yeah.
You don't hear that argument too much, though.
Yeah, I use this example all the time, and like, you can't just look at active transportation grant funding. You got to look at other ones, like flood mitigation, to see if you can
Yep.
piggyback on something else to get what you need.
Almost like the cities that like, oh, you take the paving money and we can put in all these bike lanes at the same time, or.
I don't know how many Safe Routes to School people I met where their jobs were funded by tobacco money, because it was like the guilt tax funded the healthy programs. I thought that was fascinating.
I just want to point out here that this is a brand new connectivity bridge right here that connects up to the CU campus. And so that's all those buildings there are all part of the University of Colorado, CU Buffalo's campus. And this is a new bridge. This is one of two bridges that you'll see. You'll see somebody riding down right now and somebody walking up. And I think ideally the administration would prefer it's pedestrian only, and I think it does say pedestrian only, but it's such a critical connection that they should have made it wider, and they should have anticipated that it would be an absolutely critical route for people on bikes to get through.
You won't.
Here's that second bridge.
Oh, cool.
Wow, this is amazing. So this is where the hotel was. It is gone. Wow. Okay, we're passing under State Highway 36.
Makes me wonder if like impaired bikers have ever crashed on this path.
Oh yeah.
Like there's so many.
Frequently.
There's so many potential catastrophes.
But it's, you know, self-managing.
Yep.
The most dangerous, windy roads in our nation are actually the safest.
Yep.
Demands attention. Okay, 30th Street is the street that we're going to be looking at, but we're going to get there the back way.
Okay.
So this is all East Campus, and the research center. The apartments you see to your right are all student housing apartment. I think it might be graduate student and married housing in this area, but you can see some of the big university institution. There's the Colorado soccer fields.
Wow.
So what you're about to see is a pretty critical walking and biking bit of infrastructure to handle just thousands of students and faculty trying to get between the main campus and the east side campus, as well as housing. Drum roll, please. It's pretty cool stuff what they did. I'll also say that they haven't redone 30th Street yet, and they haven't completely redone Colorado Avenue yet, but they at least have the intersection done. So let's go check it out. Okay, so we are up on street level and we're on the protected intersection level of the infrastructure.
What do you call these? What do you call those? The green area? We had a disagreement yesterday on Fort Collins about what they were called.
What do they call them?
In Oregon and Washington, you call them cross bikes.
Okay.
And they were calling them skip threads or something like that. Something, skip lines.
Skip lines.
Or something, yeah, anyway.
I mean, the way they did them here is it's just an extension of the crosswalk.
Right.
It's in green.
Okay, thoughts? Observations?
I'm a little surprised they don't have the bike signals for crossing too. It's just the pedestrian signal, but
Okay.
it's not bad.
It kind of also seemed to me like a little bit of a disappointment of making it across 30th Street only to then have to also stop. You know, it almost seemed like it would have been great for a bike and peded Barnes dance for us to be able to, like, you know,
That would be
continue
nice, yeah.
right around
Oh,
so that we would have been able to flow.
Yes. Well, I think they obviously needed to get rid of right on red because this guy, in order to turn right, he was just in the middle of the
Yep.
crosswalk, cross bike area.
Yep.
And or that guy just had to back up.
Yep. Yep. Don't get too close, dude. Yeah. Okay,
So when you said barn dance, what do you mean?
barn dance is when pedestrians and or people on bikes all can cross in all directions all at once.
Like
It's a pedestrian
So it's an
only
all pedestrian
phase.
phase, but they time it so pedestrians can cross on a diagonal.
Oh, I call
Diagonal
it
or
a
all, yeah.
scramble. It's
Yeah.
another like
Yeah,
different-
scramble.
okay.
Scramble is the other word for
Okay,
it, or
barn
the Barnes
dance.
dance.
Got it.
Yeah.
It was invented by Henry Barnes in Denver years
Yeah.
ago. I kind of talk about it in the
Yeah.
book a little bit.
It's in the book.
Santa Monica is one of my favorite
Yeah.
scrambles.
Okay, so this is the street level protected bike lane. Let's go see the second part to this, because this is only the first part. All right, you ready?
Second
Yeah.
part. All right.
And obviously they need to completely redo this street. 35 miles an hour is absolutely inappropriate.
I like the bike passer on the
This is a
on the
little
sidewalk
unnerving.
level.
Yeah.
It's not.
That's a little unnerving.
Well, these cars, I think they're coming right at us, aren't
Yes,
they?
literally.
Like
Like,
the way
right,
the-
that curve's not going to
The
do
way
shit.
the curve is.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Oh, this is wonderful.
This is so much nicer. This is the tale of two cities.
This is, I was wondering what was going on. Like, we were up there, and I was like, why can't we come down here?
Isn't this cool?
This is much better,
Yes,
yeah.
this is wonderful.
And again, it's, I could already, imagine the engineer mind right here going, now, why did you do both?
Well, it makes you wonder why any bicyclists are even up there, but I'm sure if you look at the network, I'm sure there's a good reason.
Well, this is sort of like a Y.
Yeah.
And so there may actually be a destination that they're going to that's better served up at
I'm
that
sure there
level
is, yeah.
than down here. But yeah, if you had your druthers, especially, if you're a typical kid trying to get to class, why would you sit up there and wait for a light cycle? I absolutely despise waiting
Yeah.
at intersections.
And or you don't have to in Colorado.
Well, true.
Just like-
we could have, but that was a lot of traffic.
Yeah, no, that's like,
don't wanna do it there.
no.
That was a lot of traffic for us to do the Colorado safety stop. But yeah, this is our alternative. So let's go ride the other leg of it because we only rode 2 legs of this.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Let's go.
The mayor of Fort Collins prior to my talk,
Oh, yeah.
and she hates the safety stop. She's like, oh, we're seeing so many crashes. I was like, are you? Like, the data doesn't seem to support that, but
Yeah, I love our Oregon rolling stop or stop as yield, but we don't have lights. Like, we have to still stop at lights.
yeah, so it's...
So the law is you stop and you wait for it to be clear, right?
Well, you treat the red light as a
As a
stop
stop sign,
sign.
yep.
You treat the stop sign as a yield sign.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
essentially what...
Yep.
All right, so
Okay.
now what do you think of that intersection, now that you've seen the whole thing?
That was a much nicer way to cross. It's interesting. There's a lot going on.
And as you'll notice, Megan, you're actually technically in the bike lane and
Yes.
you've got traffic coming towards you.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, we're like really picking it up.
We're all of us.
Let's,
Get out of the way.
sorry. You guys go ahead. Oh, it's on both sides too. Well, it's nice that they have both options because you never know what kind of connection somebody's doing, but
I'm a little surprised they did their first protected bike intersection at a location where they have the underpasses as well.
yeah. This is nice. This is a mega intersection. Jeez.
So technically,
Okay.
so this is rather complicated, obviously. So this is State Highway 36, 28th Street. This is a major street. This is what they're technically calling their second protected intersection. And you'll notice that that's what we had over there on the frontage road, getting us up to this area, but it's still just a massive Stroad. Not a lot of fun, but this is where I think they should have also done an underpass, quite honestly. And there actually is an underpass a little bit way down that way that gets you underneath and right to the university.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I appreciate that they're trying.
Yeah.
Like, they're really trying.
We'll also see when we get to the other side that there is a multi-use path on the other side of the 36.
Is this the main entrance into Boulder of your car?
Yep.
Well, coming from the left is.
Yeah.
So that's where you come up from, like, that's the way I kind of came in, was right up this road here. You see like a half mile that way, it becomes a highway.
And then this is all new.
Yeah. Supposed to go back in the street here.
And you'll notice protected infrastructure on that side.
Yep.
So I was just going to point out that that one intersection that I pointed to, that as we were climbing up the hill, the downhill, they created protected bike infrastructure on that side as your so the kids riding their bikes, and adults too, obviously, are bombing down the hill. They're physically separated, and then that blends them right into the protected infrastructure that we saw earlier. That was a high crash network site, and so they were trying to work on that. For those of us climbing up, we just had a painted bike lane on the climb. So.
Well, at this stage, we needed to say goodbye to Wes, as he wanted to connect with a former colleague of his prior to his evening chat at Community Cycles. So Megan and I continued north on Folsom Street, over to the Goose Creek Greenway, and then over to the Rayback Collective.
Well, Megan, what did you think of our little tour?
I will never pass up an opportunity to shadow an engineer's thought bubbles as they're happening.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, wasn't it?
Because I think I'm like a little bit of an engineer at heart.
Yeah, yeah. Hey there.
Hello. So, and plus Boulder is just renowned.
Yeah.
Platinum City. I love seeing the schools and the interaction between the infrastructure and the kids.
Yeah.
And my colleague, Amy Thompson on the eBack.
We're going to take a
yep.
sharp, or is this the back
Yep, that's
route?
it.
This is the back. Okay, cool. I love it. Yeah, you were saying about Amy?
Amy Thompson, who was on my e-bike panel.
Yeah.
She's the me of Boulder.
Yeah.
I asked her what her mode share rate for biking was.
Yeah.
And she said around 40 to 50%.
Yeah. It's pretty extraordinary, isn't it?
I think I can die happy if I ever get my Hood River County School District up to that level.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Hey, Megan, thank you so much. This
Yeah.
has been fun having you along.
Yeah,
Yay,
thank
right?
you, John.
Boom.
Bye-bye. Woo.
Yay.
Hey, thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this ride along on Bike Interview with Professor Wes Marshall and Megan Ramey. And if you did, please, hey, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and share it with a friend. And if you haven't done so already, be honored to have you subscribe to the channel. Just click on that subscription button down below and ring the notifications bell. And if you're enjoying this content here on the Active Towns channel, please consider supporting my efforts. It's easy to do. Just navigate over to activetowns.org and click on the support tab at the top of the page. Every little bit helps and is really quite essential in allowing me to be able to create this content. Well, until next time, this is John signing off by wishing you much activity, health, and happiness. Cheers. And again, sending a huge thank you out to all my Active Towns ambassadors supporting the channel on Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, YouTube Super Thanks, as well as making contributions to the nonprofit and purchasing things from the Active Towns store. Every little bit adds up and it's much appreciated. Thank you all so much.